Hi everyone, welcome back to Crow's Whisper Tarot. Today we're going to be looking at messages from your ancestors to see if there's any news or information that you should be aware of or things I would like to say to you. So let's get into the reading. Okay guys, here are the piles. We have pile 1, pile 2, pile 3 and pile 4. Take your time selecting your pile and we'll jump into the reading. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. You guys picked out the Star Codes Astro deck. And we have the 9th house with exploration and the Ascendant with entrance. This group is definitely hitting a milestone, a point in time where you're at your most expressive, almost like your peak. In terms of life, it does feel like you're starting to come into your own and starting to get into a point in time where you are in control, you're the main character, things are coming together really smoothly. I think the other thing as well is that they want to point out is not to shy away from being in the spotlight or not trying to not dream big. It feels like this is the point in time where you can really push your most, out of this world dreams that you feel like realistically might not happen. But this is the point of time where there is actually a good chance that you will get to where you need to be and that you will be able to achieve exactly what you want. That's the vibe that I'm getting. But we'll have a look at some of the tarot cards as well to see if we get any additional messages that come through. And as I was saying that, we got the Sun card. So obviously it's a very momentous occasion. You are going to have a lot of radiance about you. There's going to be a lot of significant changes that will occur. We'll have a look at timing of all this after, but I just want to get into the main messages that your ancestors have to tell you. So the 7 of Swords popped up in reverse. We also had the 7 of Wands, the Ace of Swords reversed, and the 9 of Swords reversed. Very strong energy that is coming through. It does feel like for some of you there's a desire you have in life that you feel like you really want to obtain, you really want to get your hands on, but there's a lot of, in your mind, a lot of fears and anxiety when it comes to when is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Am I on the right track? There's a lot of concern that you have about this, whether it's realistic enough for you. And I think also with the 7 of Wands energy that you're in the mindset of trying to protect what you already have, not really willing to take those risks and to delve into something bigger. You have this very protective energy about you, and I'm not sure if that's also related to you not wanting to stand in the spotlight as much, or if you feel like you are not quite at a stage where you should be, and so there's concerns for you in terms of comparing yourself to other people in terms of what they would say or do, and trying to mimic other people rather than focusing more on your own self. And it does come as a bit of a struggle for you, I think, in terms of getting into those mindsets. I'm not sure if you're sort of someone who, to make sure you're on the right path, for example, the only example I can think of at this stage is if you're working with a boss and the boss has a very specific method of doing things, and if those are not met, then, you get told off, essentially. But the vibe that I'm getting more is take the risk, even if it's doing your own thing, even if someone else says otherwise, it's still really beneficial to you as a person to really try and do things your own way and not sort of relying on what has been standard practice or what is expectations from other people. Just follow what is meant for you and what is truly yours. Because I think overthinking, and your mind tends to make you go in circles or stand back from what you feel is right. You need to follow your intuition a little bit easier, is what I'm trying to get at. And it does feel like there's a lot of self-restrictions that tend to happen, but the joy that you get is mainly from releasing that and taking away those barriers that are planted against you, and really focusing on yourself and what is meant for you. So let's get into what this 9th house energy is for you. Seven of Cups reversed, Hierophant reversed, Hanged Man reversed. It is about being as non-traditional as possible, about, being out of this world, being someone who others will not expect you to be. And I think the Seven of Cups is essentially the biggest dreams and ambitions. It's about your imagination going wild. And I feel like getting into that energy, being able to really push yourself in terms of how you see things, how you want things to move, being able to really recreate your life and what you want it to be like. And I feel like there's a certain amount of limitation that you're putting on yourself, and I feel like you are actually very good at leadership positions where you are the main image. You're someone that people easily recognize, someone people go to immediately for discussions and talks and things like that. They feel like you provide a lot of advice, that you have a lot of value, and that you are almost the person who gives a new perspective on what is in front of them, being able to pick apart a scenario and see it from a new light. And again, because you have been putting these sort of restrictions on yourself in terms of what you can do, how you want to move forward, things along those lines, you're not able to access that potential that you have in terms of having that sort of star quality, if you would. And I don't mean necessarily that you're going to end up being like a celebrity of some kind necessarily, but it just means that you are your truest self. You are open to discussing your opinions. You're open to, not necessarily that you are always right, but you're open to criticism, open to hearing other people's perspective. But that doesn't mean you can't do things your own way. That doesn't mean that you can't sort of manage things the way you need it to. I feel like there is an element of being able to make sure that you're on the right track and that things are going smoothly, because there is, of course, a risk in the long term that you won't be able to, access these things or manage these things as easily as you wish. But it does mean that you are able to really push yourself, and if you do push yourself enough, that you are comfortable being exposed and vulnerable and being true to yourself, then you are going to have a lot more opportunities that present themselves to you. And for some of you, it is sort of a business opportunity thing. It can also be with self-confidence for some of you as well, from that perspective, going into that ascendant energy where you are presenting your truest form. But let's see, in terms of timeline, when this would occur. When will pile 1 get this 9th house energy? So we got the Lovers card and we got Strength. I am seeing, for some of you with that Lovers card, it can be in Gemini season, or it can be when you meet someone who is very significant to your life. It could be a new friend, it could be a mentor, it can also be, again, a romantic interest that has a very big meaning to your life, not so much like someone who is a fling or a one-night stand sort of thing. Someone who is very significant in terms of your life. And so that is sort of a moment in time in which you sort of transition into this new phase that you're getting. Of course, the other half of that is you recognizing your own abilities, seeing them in a new light, seeing yourself as being very powerful, very strong, and being open to your own vulnerability. And that includes the ability to put yourself in the spotlight, be able to, really push yourself to have conversations with others and make yourself really known. Of course, in terms of stages, this would be stage 1 and this would be stage 2 in terms of how it is showing up, because this is something that you still need to work on, which is why it's in reverse, is the way I read it. Potentially, for some of you, it could be between 6 and 8 months, or I do see months more so for this group. But in terms of staging, it does feel like things are on the move. It's something that I feel like you have already started to work on. But I think your ancestors just want to give you that extra bit of push and motivation to sort of continue on with your dreams and don't try and shy away from them as much. But that was your reading, pile 1. Hope you enjoy it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading for your messages from your ancestors. Let's have a look as to what they have to say. We have, you are enough. You do not have to give more. We have, write a letter to your inner child. And we also have, be present, find clarity in the moment. So all of these are very strong messages to yourself, and it's interesting that you guys picked out the inner child deck. It does feel like the main thing that they want to convey to you is that you are in the right place at the right time in your life, that everything that you have been working towards and looking forward to have actually started to manifest. You just need to make sure that you are, again, in your highest possible energy, that you are not trying to make things move quicker than they should, that you shouldn't have, significant fears for the future. It's all about you being in the moment and enjoying what is there at this point in time. And with both of these cards, we have that arc of a rainbow that goes all the way through. It does mean that there is, again, gold at the end of the rainbow. There's hope, there is a future, there is a lot of success and happiness that is going to come into your life. For that to happen, there is a level of reflection that could benefit you in terms of the future, mainly in terms of reflecting on parts of your life that you have tried to shy away from. It could be people in your life, it could be scenarios that happened, it could be trauma of some kind, but it does mean that you are reflecting on yourself and thinking about not just how it has changed your life, but also reflecting on how you have used it to your benefit, how you have pushed past it, how you have used it as fuel for your future. And reflecting on that gives you a better idea of where you stand at this point in time. And it does feel with this group there has been so much progress, because clearly it says you are enough, you don't have to give more. It's just a matter of you understanding how much you have given and how much you have presented yourself to the world. And it's something that takes time to really understand in terms of your own perspective. But let's get a few messages from your ancestors to see if there's anything else they want to discuss. So we have the Two of Rings reversed, the Knight of Rings, the Nine of Wands, and the Emperor reversed. It does feel like with this group, there are certain elements of yourself that you haven't connected to enough. And I feel like that's the main thing that I was picking up is that you're shying away from a part of yourself that, even if it is dark and scary and uncomfortable to talk about or feel, it is a part of yourself that you have to accept, because it is, again, a part of you. So try not to, I would say more so work on, rather than try not to, work on being more open to feeling, uncomfortable emotions. Be more open to taking a really long time to look into yourself, to really discover what you truly want and what you truly desire. Because at the end, we have the Emperor, who has everything that they need. They are in control of their emotions, in control of their actions. They know how to move forward, how to really chase after their dreams and know their value, because they have done the work for it. We're still not quite at that stage. It does feel like you are slowly but surely moving forward towards that. But again, your ancestors just want you to work through, and for some of you it can be ancestral trauma, but for the most part, it's about you focusing on your own life and what has occurred, and trying to come to terms with the biggest things that have occurred in your life, trying to understand their significance for you and how that drives you forward. Because again, a Knight is all about action, about movement, and that's something that you need to really assess, I would say. It's not that you don't have power and you don't have things that really motivate you, but it is a slower process of trying to understand exactly where you stand with all of this. So, any other messages? We have the Ace of Swords, Justice, and the Knight of Wands. So, if we have managed to get to a point in time where we have worked through this and that you have embraced your Emperor energy, then whatever conversation you have with other people, you just have a way with words that make things happen. I don't know necessarily if it's a manifestation quality that I'm picking up, but it can be that you just have a very good way of moderating conversation, or trying to really find a balance in a conversation and trying to bring people together in a way that is a difficult thing to do, especially when you have two opposing personality types. I feel like you are really able to draw these people together, find a common topic, find something that is able to relate to other people, and that makes for a lot of joy and a lot of new relationships to form. Not necessarily of your own, although it could be, but it feels like you bring the community together to some extent. And that is a rare gift to have, and I do feel like this group has those gifts where you're able to really bring through a sense of community to people. And it can be potentially by, talking about your own story or your own struggles, because, we all are human that go through it. But it does feel like you bring this certain charm and charisma as well to the situation that, a lot of people don't know what to do with it, but they definitely appreciate what you have to give and what sort of elements that come into play for it. We have the Two of Wands reversed and the Knight of Swords reversed. Now, we have literally 3 Knights that has come out for you in terms of this deck. So, if you guys have a dream, a manifestation, something that you're working towards, you're going to achieve it. In whatever shape and form it takes, you are going to achieve it. I definitely feel like you have the ambition, you have the motivation and the drive and the dedication to get through this. The one thing that seems to be what's hindering you at the moment is a lack of a plan, a lack of direction in terms of where you want to go, especially with the Two of Wands reversed and the Knight of Swords reversed. I think in terms of action, in terms of knowing how much your voice has value, how much your words have value, that's something that you need to see and really hone into, because I feel like in terms of everything else, you are a very balanced person. Once you've worked through all this, you're going to be a very strong person who is able to mediate conversations, be a spokesperson, be able to have a lot of value in terms of the community that you are in. But it does feel like there's an element that still needs to be understood and worked through, which is that you have so much potential, and you shouldn't have like doubts clouding that vision that you have, and you don't want to be too focused on what is, going to be, 5-10 years into the future. That will happen in time, but focusing on yourself in this moment, again, be present with what is there, is very, very significant for you. And I think leaning more into what your gut feels in terms of what is right for you and what is not is going to be key in these moments. So that's just something to look forward to, but very positive messages from your ancestors for this one. Hope you enjoyed the reading. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you guys picked out the Animal Spirit deck. We have Wasp Spirit. Sometimes life stings. Horse Spirit. Freedom is yours. And Turtle Spirit. Slow and steady wins the race. I will say that this deck is very, very connected to their heart and what feels right for them. You guys could also be significantly intuitive in terms of what you can pick up, and I feel like there is almost a sense of a mission that your ancestors want you to be aware of in terms of this lifetime and what your potential truly is. And it does feel like you're almost leading into it very slowly, or you could be very close to reaching that goal in the end. But let's have a look as to what that actually is. We have the Nine of Pentacles, the Three of Swords, the Five of Cups, the Three of Wands reversed, the Five of Swords, and the Ten of Swords. Ultimately, it looks like the goal is that you are able to generate enough resources for yourself to be able to support others through hardship. And it does come from a place of wanting to protect others, wanting to make sure that others have the opportunity to move forward, to have exactly what they desire. And it does come from a place of, for some of you, losing something that is quite significant. It can be a person in your life, or it can be in terms of financial stability for some of you, but there is a significant loss that you potentially have had or will have in the future. Not great, I know, to hear, but it is something that is going to shape your life for the better, and in turn shape other people's lives for the better. And again, it does come from a place of wanting to protect, wanting to make sure that you are on the right track and that you have exactly what you need. Especially with that Five of Cups, a sense of loss and a sense of healing with the Three of Swords is something that truly shapes who you are. And it can be, for some of you, it's not something that happens all at once. It's a slow process of significant changes or significant shifts in life where you feel like you've lost something, that you've gone off track, that things don't go to plan the way you expected them to, or unexpected situations that you end up in that end up causing a lot of distress for you at that time. But the way you sort of grow out of it and the way you power through has such significance that you actually end up being more helpful to the people around you, and be able to really showcase your talents, really hone into your skills, be super resilient in terms of moving forward and embracing change. I got, for some of you, that the Death card could be very significant, or if you've had a lot of experience with tarot, you might end up having that Death card, which is all about transformation and change, or really connect to that sort of energy, I feel. What is this mission exactly that your ancestors want you to fulfill? The Knight of Cups, Ten of Cups, Two of Wands reversed, Chariot, and Six of Cups. For some of you, since childhood, you might have had this desire or this vague sense of understanding that certain events will take place in your life, or certain people will come into your life at a certain point in time. And it's such a significant feeling that you may still have that sense at this time. And it's something that the sense that that is there gives you great joy. And the reason you might sense that is because it is truly going to come into your life, and it's going to be a very big shock to you when it does. Especially with that Chariot card, it's about you intuitively knowing the direction in which you're going. Yes, you have control over your life in terms of how you move and the decisions you make, but in the background there's always going to be these sort of difficult events that take place that eventually lead you into this pathway that will end up showing up. For some of you, it can be related to people in your life or emotional connections, but for the others of you, it might actually lead into finding what your heart desires and finding out exactly what makes you happy and understanding what is meant for you. And it feels like this mission that you are going to be on is to, for some of you, actually find your soul family, or find someone who has such significance in your life that you can't avoid them at all. And it does feel like it will happen at a time where you feel the most in control of your life. Not necessarily that you're not going to have these sorts of obstacles that come into play, but it comes at a time where you are more capable than ever to go through these obstacles and not feel like you're doubting yourself, or you're feeling uncomfortable, or you feel like you're being attacked in some capacity. But it does feel like you've built up this strength within yourself that ends up being what helps in the future. And in terms of that mission, it does seem like it's connected to the spiritual realm to some extent. It could be that for some of you, you're very intuitive, or that you have a very strong religious connection or spiritual connection. But it does feel like that's leading into you being the only word I could think of was like priest or priestess, but you can use those intuitive gifts to benefit other people and give them a lot of stability and growth. And that card just wants to fall out, which was the Magician. I kept sort of moving into the pile and it kept slipping out. So Magician, again, you have such incredible capacity to become someone extremely powerful and someone who is able to take on a lot of, I guess, a lot of difficulty and turn it into something that is very positive. And I feel like your role that the ancestors feel like you have is that you have the innate ability to protect other people, to make them more aware of what is important to them, what is meant to be, things that a lot of people try and avoid or not truly understand what is going on. But there is a very strong link, I find, with this group, that you're able to make the most of other people's lives. So, at what point in time will this mission occur? And what track are we on at this stage? Eight of Rings, Eight of Cups reversed, Hermit reversed, and the Seven of Cups reversed. In terms of timing, I feel like you're already on this journey and have been on this journey for a significant period of time. Again, you could have been feeling this sort of connection since childhood. If not, this pile is probably not specifically for you. But it does feel like you've had this innate sense that certain events will take place in your life, or certain people will somehow be involved in your life or exist on this plane. And it does feel like you are so intuitively connected to them that you have a sense that they are going to show up at some point in time. And when it does show up, you're going to be at a point in time where you're very comfortable presenting yourself to other people. You're able to share, memories and feelings that you have very comfortably. You're able to express yourself really well. You're almost in your truest state when you do come across this shift that occurs. And when it does occur, it is also through your own work ethic, to your own determination to get to where you need to be. And that's what causes that shift. I feel like for most of you, we are literally on the brink of this shift. To me, it feels like we're literally maybe a month, maybe less than a month out from this actually occurring. And when you do get that shift, you're going to have people in your life that are going to be so incredibly significant, that are going to give you the most amount of change, and they're going to make you more comfortable with yourself, and you're going to help expand, again, that sort of spiritual quality to other people around you. So it's a very significant message for this group, and I don't think any of the other groups that I have spoken about will have such a strong message. But in terms of the ancestors, they feel like you are very close to achieving, I guess, the mission of this lifetime. So something to look forward to, group 3. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Welcome, pile 4, to your reading. You guys picked out the Rainbow Brain Skull deck. We have Good Night, also you didn't get enough done in the day. Not enough, everyone's story. And Every Timeline Exists, choose to move forward. The one thing that is very much significant for this pile is that you have too much determination to get everything done. It does feel like you are sort of pushing yourself to the max, not getting enough time for yourself, and your ancestors are definitely concerned for you in terms of how much you are striving for something that almost doesn't quite exist, and also striving for something that can be a lot easier if you take a break and step away. It's almost like when an artist paints and you sit there for hours and hours staring at the same image and trying to correct it, when in reality stepping back, taking time out, can make you see things from a newer perspective. And so if you're hyper focused on one timeline, one goal, one thing that sort of shines as bright as anything, and hyper focused on that, you're missing out on quite a bit in your life. And that's why you need to take time out. Even if the sun sets next day is going to be the same thing all over again, you don't need to stress to the point where you feel like you can't achieve what you're meant to. So let's have a look at very specific message that wants to come out for you. Apparently we have the Two of Swords reversed, the Seven of Pentacles reversed, Page of Cups, and the Five of Rings. The main thing I'm picking up on is, I'm not sure if you guys have a lack of thought where you feel like you're lacking something in your life. You feel like you need to fulfill that to the max, feeling like you need to put together every single part of your life, have it to perfection, not missing out on any opportunity. But in reality, that leads to a lot of one-sided qualities. And with the Two of Swords is the ability to make a decision with your eyes closed. And I feel like with this group, you tend to do that quite well, but it also makes you not able to focus on what truly matters and things that are more significant than the goal that you're trying to achieve. And there's an element of needing to live in the moment, needing to really take time out and put your energy into more sustainable things in your life. And look, I'm not saying that it's not a necessity for you. For example, you could be saving up to buy a house or buy a car. And yes, those are necessities that you do need, but it is coming to a point in time where you're so hyper focused on making money, meeting those goals, that you're not fulfilling other aspects of your life. And it could be for some of you that in terms of health, especially mental health, it is starting to fall back a little bit. For some of you, you could be experiencing a bit of insomnia as well with this and the way it presents. But keep in mind, there's more than enough time in a day to get things done. And taking breaks is not devaluing that time that you have in the day. It's actually more time to have a break, to rethink things, to not rush into things. It's quite important, and it feels like this group is just hyper on trying to get things done, when in fact breaks are going to be more successful to you in terms of achieving what you need. So that's something to keep in mind. And especially when it comes to relationships, it feels like there's an element of not relying on the people around you, not relying on others to help or take a load off, and almost wanting to do things all on your own. But there are many ways to get to the goal that you have in mind. You just haven't focused on it yet. You just haven't seen it yet. And that's going to lead you into a bit of a spiral down the track. So let's have a look. We have the King of Cups reversed, the Sun reversed, Page of Swords reversed, Seven of Swords reversed, and the Death card, which is very, very interesting. More than anything with this group, it feels like, again, if you are able to find someone to speak to, preferably a mentor, to shed some light on this entire scenario that you have in mind in terms of your goals. And again, this is a general reading, so again, you know your life better than I ever could. Take advice based on what you feel is right for you. But it does feel like the main element that I'm getting is that because you almost want to put all your energy into one basket, trying to contain it, it's leading to a lot of burnout, and to some extent you're not able to really think through what is occurring around you. And there are going to be certain messages that come through from spirit, especially if you're well connected. There's certain information that you can sort of pick up really, really easily. But it's a matter of being able to understand that there's many ways to get to the end point. There's many ways to achieve exactly what you want. And so with that Death card, being open to change, especially change in routine, change in the way you think, is going to be the most beneficial for you. And especially with the Sun card and King of Cups reversed, at the moment there's a lot of internal burnout that is leading to a lot of discomfort. And it feels like the more you narrow your pathway, the more you're going to be further away from the dreams and goals that you have. So, the main thing is to truly embrace being free, being childish, being able to see that, you know, life is short, and to have your focus on where it truly matters and not where you think it does. Being aware that you have power over exactly the circumstance that is happening, but that also doesn't mean that you can't let things be, because it does feel like the main message from your ancestors is that you need to let go of an element of control. You need to relax more. You need to be aware that nothing is going to be perfect in your life. You can't really plan out every single circumstance that happens. And you have to just let things be and let things lie for it to truly manifest. And look, you can plant as many seeds as you want, but unless nature does its thing, it's not going to create a tree in a second. It's going to be up to nature to take the path that it does. You're not the only person that is existing in this world, and so there's too many external factors that do occur for you to really meet whatever target you have in mind. And so it can be, if, for example, following that example of getting a car, if that is your end goal and that is exactly what you want, it might mean that no matter how much you save, you're not able to get that exact car that you want. And it can be that your ancestors are wanting you to get a car, but they have a very specific time frame in mind so that you can get one for the best price, or the one that is going to be the most suitable for you. Even if it's not at the timing that you prefer, it's going to happen regardless. It's something to keep in mind. So don't stress is ultimately the message for this group, is don't stress. Let things go. It's going to be the biggest change that you can make in your life, and it's going to lead to a lot of new opportunities that come through with it. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, with this group, hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.